Well, hello and welcome to the latest 1 hour workout from Target Cloud based on our Zoho experience and our knowledge of the systems throughout the Zoho suite of products. And today that's appropriate because we are going to be talking about the Zoho One and an introduction to the Zoho One panel for admins. So today we'll be looking at how you manage the Zoho One suite of products for your organization and for your end users. Here are your usual 1 hour workout coaches. Craig is the Managing Director of Target Cloud, and I'm the Client Services Manager, and today I'll be doing your 1 hour workout for today's session. Here's today's plan. So initially we're just going to have a quick look at what is Zoho One. Then we'll look at navigating the Zoho One system. Just have a look around it, what we see. And then we're going to look closely at the Zoho One admin panel and what all of the different areas that are listed on the left-hand side do and what they mean to you and what you can do with them. And then finally, we'll just have a very quick look at the Zoho One mobile app. And we'll just be looking at that online. Okay. So let's jump over straight away to Zoho One. Okay, we're using our demo system. We are called No Frills Gig Management. So we have set this up as a pretend, if only it was real, gig management company, tour and concert management. And the first thing we do is we browse to the one.zoho.eu or .com URL. Now, if you are using the US-based servers for Zoho, it would be .com. Most of our clients are in Europe, in the EU, so you'll find it will be .eu across the top here that you'd add in. But our demo system is hosted with Zoho in the US. Okay. So you enter your URL, and what we do here, I've got pinned tabs in Chrome. So I often recommend that people do that in the browsers that they've got. Pin your regular browser windows to the app you're using. Okay, so this is the front page. So this is what the every user will see when they first log in. And essentially what they see is a list in a tab, a list of all the products that they have access to. Now you'll see here we've got 2 tabs, and we'll look at how you can create 2 tabs and why you do that. But this is what the user would see. So as an admin, we want to move over to the admin panel. Okay, and the initial thing we see is the dashboard. But before we go into that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what Zoho One is. So Zoho One is a suite of applications that Zoho provide to cover most, if not all, systems that you would use to run a business. So as they call it, it's the operating system for business. And you have a whole suite of products that really, essentially, if you don't have any other products yet, if you're just a new startup looking out there, you could manage your whole business on just this one product. The products are broken down to these various areas you can see. We've got sales, marketing, finance, operations, and HR. And the way they list them does change over time, but essentially that's what they are. We won't go into each one for now. We're just mainly going to look at admin, but we're just looking at the Zoho One generally just now. And the pricing is interesting because it's £30 per month per user in the UK. And the difference with this is it's must be purchased for all employees on your payroll. Okay, so that's the key when you look at the pricing setup, that the all employee pricing is £30, but you do have the option for flexible user pricing where you only want to buy licenses for a certain number of your users or your employees. So you've got a lot of people not accessing computers or out in the field, not using Zoho. This would be what you look at. And of course, there are a whole suite of other ways that Zoho provide different products. So if you want to discuss that, you would talk to us and we'd look at the optimum pricing for the applications you want to use. But if you're going to use it for all employees for £30 a month, it's excellent value. Okay, so let's go back to Zoho One and the admin panel. So now the first thing we see is the dashboard, and you'll see on the left-hand side, there's a full list of the actual functions that you can do throughout the Zoho One panel and the Zoho One admin panel. Yeah. I'll just have a quick look over the top here where you'll look at, you can see it getting started. So again, if you need more help, you can look at here and look at some of the features and also go further into the admin guide, join the community and watch some webinars. Here we've got a quick actions drop down, and you can see is a sort of cut down list, or a really cut down list of some of the things you can do within the CRM at the one panel, and most of the common actions you can do. Here we've got the notifications, if any notifications come through. We don't have any here. And then here we have your profile. So this is your login profile. You can see we've got a demo user here. We have 2 users for this system. And you can actually look at and manage your subscription from here. And you can also, again, access the many resources that Zoho provide throughout on their websites and in their in the areas they've set them up in. Okay, so let's look at the dashboard. It gives an overview of what's happening in the whole of the Zoho One arena. So it's really a sort of small reporting or analytic view of what's going on in Zoho One based on the number of users you have, the number of apps, any groups you've set up. It'll look at last signed in user, so it can give you some security views, and dives into the user details and any sort of most signed in location. So really it is a dashboard, it's fixed, so you don't really change or move these around. That gives you an oversight of what's happening within your Zoho One environment. So you can, you know, some things like the signed in locations, some may pop up and you'll think that's a bit unusual from a security point of view, maybe from a country you don't recognize. That's based on the IP address, but it would, it's just an overview to keep you up to date and looking at what's going on in the panel. Okay, so I'll just now drop down to organization. So in here, it lists who the owner of the Zoho One environment is. The Zoho One as an overall product, it shows you who the owner is. And the unique thing about the owner is that they would essentially be Zoho's main point of contact. And sometimes if you have changes that are required within your Zoho environment, you may not be able to do them. There may be back-end issues that you may be dealing with. So the email and the contact that Zoho themselves would respond to would be from the owner of the Zoho One environment. Or the Zoho One owner would let Zoho know that they can deal with another user if required. Okay, so this is where it's registered. You can see you've got a one.zoho.com URL, and I've customized this one to no frills, and I cannot I can change it. Sorry, I can't change some other things, but here you can update and change what they are. So if you wanted to change the end portal URL, you would just input it there and it would tell you whether it was available or not. And then you fill in some other details if required, okay? So that's your portal URL. You can also change the owner, and it's only the owner that can change that. If the owner of Zoho One happened to leave your organization and that hadn't been changed, again, it would be a discussion with Zoho to kind of prove that happened, and they would change it for you. And we can facilitate that as a partner much more quickly as well. Obviously here you've got your edit button that you can put in more details. It's another way of getting to the same place that we followed up here, where you've got the edit at the top. And over on the right hand side, you can edit your logo and what they call your favicon to suit your company. And that would be reflected throughout the suite of products where an organization logo is being displayed. So I would recommend that you do that. Okay, you notice we've always got a time zone here, and when I clicked edit, I couldn't update that. It's already been done once, and that is will change. So again, that's something you would contact Zoho to have changed as well. But you can have work locations, which are in the next tab, where we can set up and edit the time zone here for each work location. So it's a little bit unusual. We've set the time zone for the whole organization, but then can complete add work locations and provide different time zones there. So if you had different time zones, you would do that there. So again, different work locations here. You can actually add new locations, very simple. And it would just be another way of just tidying up, keeping tidy and understanding your users, particularly if you've got a lot of them, you may want to allocate them these work locations. In a similar way, we've got designations, and really that's your job title. You can add designations and list people by a name that you would type into this area here. I've not seen this used much at all. Again, it's just a way of organizing your users and allowing, a bit of, things to be tidy in your setup. So really, it's a job title. It's similar to groups and allows you to set up access to apps based on the job role or the job designation. What I've seen mostly is people use groups for that, where you group users together and allocate apps on that basis, but it can be done here. And we'll be talking about groups in a minute. Okay, so we'll move over to applications. And this is where you'll see the full list or your active applications that have been set up in Zoho One. So when you first get Zoho, there'll only be a small list. Around 4 apps will be set as default as being active. So what you need to do is set up the applications you want to use via the Add Application button up here. And you will see a list of all the apps that have not been added. And in fact, again, for some reason, it doesn't provide all of the apps that are there. So if you drop down to this View All Apps button here, it then does show all apps. So initially it gave you a recommended, and now it's showing all the apps, apart from you need to click more on some of them. So it's a little bit, I don't know why they do that, but it's showing you all the apps on a recommended basis, the most used. Then you have to drill down to find the one you want if you can't find it straight away by viewing all apps and then looking for more apps, okay? But this is the full list down here, including any applications that have been built within Zoho Creator. They're sort of, custom application builder. And you'll see that they're split down into different areas, like human resources, business resources. We've got sales in this area here, and it's roughly along the lines that we saw in the initial web page for the Zoho One. Okay, so I'll just, before we add an app, I'm just going to go over to Manage Tabs, and you'll see when we looked at the user home at the start, these are the tabs that we've got set up. And in general, you can use tabs to create different groups of apps that are more appropriate for types of job, types of role. And so we can add and delete these. This first one is a default. Anytime we switch on a new app and make it active, it will appear in this tab here. And every user will have access to this No Frills Gig Management app tab, but will only see the apps that they have been set up to use. So when we looked at user home, I could see 2 tabs. So there was a cut down version of the apps, and these are just relating to accounting. And if I'm not in the accessing any of these, I've not been given permission to do that, this wouldn't be there, okay? But if you have more than, a full list of a lot of tabs, if you have access to the applications within those tabs, you will see those tabs at every tab, and you have to choose between them. But what I would say is the user has the ability to add their own personal tab for their most common used or their used applications, so they can do that. And you simply add a new tab by clicking this button, and you give it a name, and then choose the apps that you want to add to there. Okay, so let's go back to applications. And what we'll see is all the applications here are currently active. So I want to add an application. Let's say we want to add, I'm going to add Assist. Let's say, let's look at Zoho Assist. So that's where we can remotely connect to another person's device and help them see what they're doing and take over and fix issues. So I'll click Add. And this is slightly different. I'm going to do two of these. So here, I'm going to add both at the same time. It's asking for both. Now, Zoho Assist is unusual and it doesn't have one sort of app owner. I'll show you this when we start looking further at the app owners. I'll click Next. It lets me know that the Zoho Assist users are already in Zoho One. Are you sure you want to add your account in Zoho One? Click Yes, and it'll associate those with the Zoho Assist program. Okay, it's just taking a little time, and you'll see it's been added successfully, and I can even add more users if I like, although I don't have any more users to add in because I've only got 2. Okay, so there is Assist has been added. I'm just going to add another application. Let's look closely. Let's have a look and see what one we'll build. I'm going to view all apps. You can see which ones have been added. So let's just add something like Backstage, which is an event management software. So that has been used. You give it a URL. So each one of these are different. There may be a different way of you adding it. So you could give it your custom URL. And these things are kind of unique to each application. There may be a slightly different way of setting it up, but generally they're very simple to follow. So we're creating this account no frills at for Backstage. We'll create this account. We'll wait for it to load. Here we can add user. And again, we can choose the users. And I may just want to add one. I'm just going to add myself and this so far. And this is where you get the roles, the permissions effectively for that person. Now, these permissions are already built into the application you're adding. So if you were adding CRM and you'd already added some new roles and new profiles, the security permissions in Zoho CRM, they would be shown here. You can't add new ones here. You must do that from within the application itself, but you're given the full list of them here. And then we can assign. And there we go. So that's been added and we can assign more. Now let me just go into CRM. I'm going to click the CRM now. It's already been added. And let's look at what we've got here. So you can see we can do some editing. So we can change the name, although it will not let us do it. So I don't know why that's there. You can copy the app link. And even here, we can change the owner. So we could choose a new owner here. And it's only showing the other owner. So we can change the admins for each application here. I'm just going to cancel that out because I don't really want to do that here. And then you've got 3 dots here, and it allows you to hide the application. So if it's an application you're no longer using, you would hide it so it wouldn't appear in any of the tabs or be available to the users. And the reason there's a hide tab is there's no delete function, that you cannot delete or remove the application. It's just called hide. Okay. Then over here, we've got the settings button. And if I select that, it will open up the settings within the application itself. So you're not got any specific settings in the Zoho One panel for the application. It will open that application for you. So that appears here. So it's a quick way of getting to the settings of an application if you don't have it open. You don't need to open the app and go to settings, go straight to it from there. Okay. The next thing I'm going to quickly look at is conditional assignment. So what we see here, I won't go into this, I won't create one, but what it means is you can add people to or to an app. It will assign apps automatically to users based on things like the group that they may be a member of, even the delegation we saw earlier. So if you add a user to a group here, we'll look at groups. Say you add it to the HR group. The HR group may already be set up to use a group of applications. So that new user who's joined the HR department we'd be able to get all those applications in one go, rather than you going to each application and then setting them up for that. So that's what the conditional assignment is. It allows you to, let me just go back to CRM. It allows you to create rules that do this. I'll see if I've got one set up. I may have one set up for bookings yet. Okay, so I've got one set up for the HR department. So it's applicable to all users. And when a member, a new person starts and they're added to the staff group or a gig management group, they will be given access to a certain group of applications. So here they've been allocated the bookings. They will get this bookings app. So you could go through each app and create that. So anyone in the HR group will be added, given access to bookings and any others that you've set this up for. Okay, again, I'll go back to CRM and just show you. You can see obviously your users here, and you can edit or disable them in this area. I'm the owner of Zoho One, so that's not available here, but you would edit the user, it pops up, and we can change the profile they have or whatever the security features are of that particular app. And you can disable them as well. And that would move them into the disabled users setup. And we'll look at that in a second. Okay, and the final thing to look at here is when you're in this list of applications, you can quickly open the app by selecting this icon here where it says Open App. And it will open it in a new tab. Okay, now let's drop down to the users function here. So we've got how we manage all our users within Zoho One. And I'll just refer to this active users drop down where we could have all users, active users. And when you disable someone, they would go into the inactive users area. You've also got pending users where you've invited someone and they've not yet accepted the invitation. Confirmed users, it's showing the ones who have confirmed and accepted. And external users is an interesting one. And these are quite independent. So you can invite external users, particularly via, if you've set them up maybe in a Zoho Connect, which is a sort of a portal area that you can, like an extranet, you can invite external users. They would appear as users and you can allocate apps to them. Okay, so you can apply security policies. Oh no, you can actually, you can add, you can only do basic things like assigning an application to an external user. You can't edit any details or add them to groups or change any security policies. They're kind of fixed. They're not part of your organization, so you cannot do those. So let's just go back to our active users. So we've got two in Zoho One. And what you'll see here is a list of the apps, or a list of the number of the apps they can access, what groups they're part of, and when they last logged into the Zoho One, an app in the Zoho One environment. Over here, we can assign apps. Oh, let's drop that out. Over here, we can assign apps. We can edit or deactivate them. And similarly, I've got my username here. I can just assign an app to myself. Okay. So this is where you just gain more functionality. So I can go into here to assign app, edit them, or deactivate them. While I'm up here, I'll look at the manage fields. You can add some custom fields in here. So you may want to add a custom field into the sort of, it's just the information about the person. So when you select one of these people, let's just go to the user and look at Craig Shelley. You see this information that pops up on the info tab. You can add some more fields here. So if you want to add some more information about them added to this, you would do it via the manage fields and add custom fields area. It's very basic, it's just text fields, but that's where you would do it if you want to just gather data and add them. So there's text, number, date, phone, email, checkbox. So a kind of smallish list, but still enough to cover what you may want. I won't add one, but that's where you would do that if you want to, if you have relevant information you want to save in here. Okay, so let's go back and open that user. And again, you just dive into more functionality within the Zoho One setup. Now, what you see is we've got Craig Shelley is set up as an admin for Zoho One. So earlier on, I referred to the fact that we have an owner of the Zoho One, but you can add other admins. So if we just jump back into that, I should have shown you that earlier. We've got the admins up here. When we look at users, sorry, admins, that's coming next, actually. I'll leave that to the next section. Yeah, it wasn't in the panel. The initial panel shows you who the owner is. And we'll look at admins in a sec. So back to the user. You see we can look at the applications they have. You can see what members they might, groups they might be a member of. And this member, we'll look at this, but it is where we can allocate groups of apps or do other things on a mass basis to a group of people who are in a group. You can see their account activity, when they last logged on, and see any security policies they may be a member of. We only have a default policy here, and we'll talk about that briefly at the end. Here you can change the email address they have. So this is only really available in the Zoho One admin panel. You can't do it en masse in, say, CRM Plus. And generally, if somebody's only using CRM, that user would have to change their own email address from within the CRM, for example. But here we can add a new email address. So let's just call it test. I can add that. And then, so they now have two email addresses, and we can now make this the primary address by selecting the yellow light. And what that means is when they're sending out emails from any of the Zoho apps, it will now come from this test demo 2 rather than user 2. Now, there may be reasons you want to do that. Someone may decide they would like to change the style of their email addresses. One of the main reasons may be a rebranding of your organization and the email address has changed, but that's where you would do it. I'm actually going to go back to make the original one primary, and I'm going to delete this one. So I don't really need it there, but that's where you can manage a user's email address. You can actually reset the password here. So you can generate a password, and we would definitely say force users to change the password on login. We do not want to know our user's password. It's probably a bit outdated having the ability to set a password for someone. So if you really need to, you can do it here, but I would always force the users to change the password on login. And if you have multi-factor authentication set up, you can set up passwords here. And so MFA is where you have two forms of identification, a password and maybe a text sent to an SMS or an authorization application where you put in a code. And you can set that up for Zoho One as part of a security policy. Okay, so just want to quickly show you add a new user. We can't add a new user because we don't have the licensing, but you would add the basic information here. You'd add what their email address is going to be. If you have other domains available, you could set them to that. So you can add more than one domain to your Zoho One. You can, again, do this generate password and force users to change the login. You've got your company information where you can add in new fields. Any new fields would appear in this custom field area down the bottom. And finally, you want to send a notification email, and that would be sent out to the email address you've set up. And I would always make sure that they check any junk folders or to make sure they see it. And it will give them 7 days to accept that, or else you'll have to send a new one. Okay. So let's now move down to the admins setup here. So as I said earlier, we have one owner, but we can have more than one admin. So you can see I have set up our other user as an admin in the admin panel. Okay, you click the plus sign if you wanted to add a new user from the directory. We don't have any others available, so there's no matches found. But this is where you would do it. So the owner is generally it's the person who took out the license with Zoho, but it can be changed. And as I said, a reference for Zoho to confirm who the owner of Zoho One is. they often ask for super admins of some of the apps as well before they will make changes on your behalf. So then the next tab is what we call service admins. And in general, they are the admins or owners of all the applications that you have set up and activated in your Zoho One environment. So you can see here, we've got 2 admins for analytics, but only one, and that's the owner of Zoho One, automatically set up as an admin for these applications. And if you notice there, when I hover over the name of the app, you can see the change button. So we can change these as you go along. There's a couple of unique ones where we can't. You can add a service admin in the Begin app, but it's not giving you the ability to change. So you may need to look into Begin and change that, or it would be a message to Zoho to say, can you remove a service admin or change? Okay, you may want to do that, but it's available within the app itself as well. Again, you've got the change option up here, and we go down to bookings, it's simply add. Okay, so we add service admins. So you'll see most of them are add, but a few are change. So we can add some more in. Okay. So it's very simple in here. This is where you manage the service admins, and they have full access to each of those applications as they go along. Okay, if I just click add on one of them, let me just cancel that. I'll go to one where there's only one. So let's say we've just set up assist. We can only change a service admin. I can't add another one in. So there's only, essentially what that's telling you is you're only allowed one admin for these products, whereas some of the other ones you're allowed to add 2. So let's go to books. I'll add and look for Craig, and it's a default admin. This is part of, there's no other role set up within the books app itself, so I assign that. So a lot of the reasons, you know, you can't do the same thing on every app is to do with the way that Zoho One was built. It was pulled in a lot of existing applications into one area, and so Zoho are gradually working on combining them all having the same functionality, but there's still some slight differences between them. Okay, so it's very simple to add. So if I was to add to CRM, you'd get all the roles that are available that have been set up within the CRM environment. Okay, so let's just jump down to groups now. Now, it's not often used for smaller organizations, but it is often good for larger organizations. So they can set up groups that allow you to add users to them, and then you can allocate applications to that group. So this in here, we've got your group members. Again, you've got your conditional assignments that we looked at. So what you're seeing here from that conditional assignment I have set up earlier that I showed you, adding in books and connect to anyone who joins the HR department. And I can add another one here. So this is where you'd add the app. So I really want them to have access to Click. So I'm going to assign that. I'm going to apply it to all members. And this is us creating the conditional. I just want them to be users. I'll save that and assign. So now all I've done in this group is add another application to allow a new user, when they're added, to be given access to the HR group. So this is how you do it. You've got these apps here now. You would add a new member. So a new member of staff's joined the HR department. You would add them in here, and they're automatically given those 3 applications. So really quick and easy way of making sure they have access to the relevant applications. So build your conditional assignments in here to give them access to the apps you want. Okay, so that's quite straightforward there. Just one note here, I've got these groups up the top here. They were created within Zoho Connect, one of the other applications within the Zoho suite. We've got the groups here. So they've been built here. Now this one hasn't, because with the way we've set it up, but you can add it to the Zoho One panel. You can decide the permission. So that's why they appear there. So they don't necessarily need just added within the HR department. Okay, so let's just quickly look at domains. And you can see we've got our standard domain that was set up by default here. We don't have mail hosting set up. We're not using Zoho Mail. It's a for the demo. And it's automatically, that was automatic when we set up. We can add a new domain, but there'd be a bit of confirmation for when you set up a domain. You may need to, when you add a new domain in, it may be that you have different domain names and different email addresses associated with your organization. So you'd set these domains up here. And that means that when someone comes in from domain 1 or domain 2, if they're set up here and they're at domain 2, they will automatically be added as an internal user here. So if you do have different domain names in use, add that here. You may need to you will have to go through a verification of your domain process, which would involve probably speaking to who manages your domain name settings and your website. And they will give you some details like TXT or CNAME information from your domain name host settings. So a little bit technical, but it's just to prove that you're owner of that domain that you add in here. Okay, we'll just quickly jump down to security. Now, we've not got any security policies in place here, but this is where you would set them up. I would recommend you do start a password policy. So that's where you can set the types of characters that can be added, the length of the password, etc. You also can set up your multi-factor authentication here, and that's where you would use a secondary form of confirmation of who you are. So you've got your username and password. Then you may also have using SMS to a phone, as I said earlier. You can use an authorization software, and Zoho have that as well, where it pops up a code. Or you may use biometrics on a phone, for example. It would send a notification to your phone, and it would use a biometric verification. It would go to your phone for the to the app that you're using to confirm, so the authorization app. And then you can also pin down allowed IPs based on where someone may be based. So you may have people resident in another country, and you may want to add an allowed IP. You can't block IP addresses, but you may want to add allowed IPs. It's getting a bit more difficult these days with lots of people working from home, so it's difficult to manage what IP addresses they are using, so they can be provided randomly by broadband providers. But this is where you would add the security policies in this area here. So we don't have one configured, but this is where you would set this up. And the custom authentication, it's linked to other identity providers, how you authenticate yourself from other applications external to Zoho, and trying to combine them into one place. So it's quite deep, so we won't cover that in here. But these are the three main things that you'd want to look at. So if you need some help with that, please do let us know. Now we'll just drop down to the marketplace. And so you may have seen marketplace available in CRM, where you have access to a huge list of applications that allow you to integrate it with the Zoho CRM. So it's similar here, where you have the applications available, but only available to Zoho One. So it's a much more limited area. So we've got the custom apps available here. If I'm showing all the apps, and there's basically split into two. We've got custom apps that allow you to integrate with Zoho One, and you've got these directory apps down here. Now, these are really for managing. You may have a list of users in a Microsoft Active Directory that you already have in place. You can integrate that with Zoho One to save you adding all the users one by one. It will integrate. It will do a one-time and a one-way synchronization with your Microsoft AD, so it's not going to change your Microsoft Active Directory list of users. It will just pull them in. You can assign what details you want to pull in, such as even passwords, and it will set them up within your Zoho One environment. So it has that integration. And you see it will also integrate with another directory such as Salesforce or Dropbox. Okay, so this is a marketplace. It is quite limited. Not a lot of interest really in there. The main one being, in our experience, the Microsoft Active Directory integration. But that's maybe it will build in the future. But you tend to find that the applications that you can in the marketplace are better and more abundant within the application itself. Just one final comment on that. Ring Central is a good one though, where you can integrate all of your applications that you have in Zoho One with Ring Central in one integration via Zoho One. So that's really, really good if you're looking to set up an IP telephony based system and link it with your Zoho environment. You don't have to do it just for CRM or then go and do it for desk. You can do it for a whole host of apps via Zoho One. Okay, I'll just quickly drop down to the Active Directory area here. And again, this is where I mentioned you can integrate. This is a specific tool and the area for integrating with the Active Directory for Microsoft itself. So because it's the most commonly used one, this is where you would do it in here. So you could go to Marketplace for other directories, but here you've got the Microsoft AD integration here. And you've got instructions, you do a download. It's relatively simple, but you need to be careful. But it's a really good application for particularly large lists of users where you may want to add them and you don't have to do it on an individual basis. Okay, the final part I'm going to talk about is reports. So here is just a basic list of reports. We're not adding any custom reports in here, and it really will look very similar to the dashboard. You've got your users, login, applications, and multi-factor authentication. So it's a way for you to monitor what's been happening within the CRM. So we have recently added users. We've got none there. Let's look at successful sign-ins. We can see the other user signed in this morning a couple hours ago from Edinburgh, and that's fine. That makes sense to me. And again, you can just, if I go back to the reports, click that, you can look at these different things here. Most application logins. So you can see CRM is the most logged in. So only 3 logins, but we've only got 2 users. But essentially, if I click back to the dashboard, what you'll see there is these details as well. It's most signed in locations, the most signed in apps, as you see, 3 here. So the reports here are just bundled into the dashboard. So that's really, really useful. So the final thing I'm just going to look at is the Zoho One mobile app. So I'm just going to, I don't have a phone link to this, so let's have a look. You can do most of all these things, which could be dangerous, on a mobile app. So if you're out on the road or not got access to a device or a screen, a large screen, you could come in here and look at the Zoho One panel and details itself. You can download from the App Store and from Google Play, and you can see you've got various things you can do. Launch applications, do a global search across all your applications. You can see the dashboard. You can set up, customize your security policies, which might be difficult on a mobile phone or an app device, a smart device, and do various other functions within there. So again, very powerful, just in your hand while you're maybe sitting in a car, sitting on a train. You can make some changes. If you as the owner are asked to make a change and you want to do it quickly, you can do it via the mobile app without needing to be at your desk. Okay. A final thing I'd like to mention is where you can get access to a full Zoho One guide. This is on the help.zoho.com and the portal. Just type in Zoho One admin guide and you will get access. You will find this. So save this as a pinned tab, and here's your admin guide, information about integrations, and the marketplace installation guides. Okay, Right, that's the end of today's 1 hour workout. I hope it's given you some help in how to navigate and manage the Zoho One admin panel. We will be having some upcoming 1 hour workouts, so keep an eye out for them. Campaigns, we'll be looking at workflows in CRM, looking at some new features in Zoho CRM as well, and looking at Sales IQ. And all these will be posted up on our portal for our online 1 hour workout videos, which you will be able to access with a small subscription. Okay, any requests you have, please send to support@targetcloud.co.uk, whatever they may be on whatever product. If you want to schedule some training, let us know, and please do post some nice reviews on our Target Cloud website, targetcloud.co.uk/reviews, and give us a follow on LinkedIn. Okay, once again, thanks very much for attending, and we will speak to you soon.